overall, I hated this film.
I guess I would consider myself a happy feminist.
But before we get to that, I want to talk about this illustrative analogy of what feminism is in the modern day, and this film shows it blatantly, mask off, right? Where the Barbies retake Barbie Land, okay? And they have an opportunity to restructure their society in a better way, because all the Kens feel really upset.
They feel hard done by.
Hard done by. Yeah. Like the Kens in the Barbie world were oppressed, basically.
Yeah.
They were disregarded as useless set pieces with nothing of value to offer.
Men have been conditioned to think that they're worthless, which is why we obsess with proving our worth to women, and we have to earn our way out of worthlessness, which is why most men don't give a damn that the vast majority of homeless are the same gender as them.
And on top of that, the Kens don't even have homes to live in. Literally, only the Barbies have the homes. The Kens are homeless.
Men are worthless, you see, and you with your job and your mortgage and your responsibilities, you, my friend, are just a little less worthless than that male bum on the street, aren't you? You see, that's the mentality that gets us into the trouble we're in today.
And the Barbies, when they're reinstituting their government, they have an opportunity to institute equality. And they don't!
So you guys hear, these hyper-feminists, they want you. Yeah. They want you terrified.
They want the power!
This whole idea that, you know, there's space for men in our...
There isn't.
There isn't. There is. It's beneath them.
But you said one shit one day that was nice. You don't want allies, you want servitude. You said that, and that's exactly what
allyship is nonsense.
Yeah, that's not what you want. You don't want an ally. You want servitude. You want men to be in position with you, but you want them scared, and you want them as servants. That's what you want.
Yeah. They say, no, we're not going to put you in the government with everybody else. We'll give you a lower spot.
They said, can't we have a man on the Supreme Court? And they're like, no, maybe just a lower representative or something like that.
Yeah.
Like this is the evidence and proof that modern day feminism isn't about equality, it's about power, okay? And actually, they say it multiple times, actually, where Barbie is not about being a independent, equal woman, it's being a powerful woman. It's all about power. They say it, and I've got notes where they drop that. But at the very end, yes, they could have instituted equality, and they don't. They actually institute oppression to oppress the men.
This from the great article, Feminism as Racist Backlash by Professor Curry. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a racist. She believed wholeheartedly that white women were more evolved than blacks and more developed and civilized than black men. In the winter months of 1865, Stanton was increasingly frustrated by the Republicans and abolitionists' advocacy that favored giving black men the right to vote above white women. As Coronel T. Field writes in Struggles of Equal Adulthood, quote, Stanton did all she could to convince Republican leaders that adulthood rather than manhood should determine political rights. To press her argument, she made a fateful choice. She decided to attack the political capacity of adult men by invoking scientific and popular theories of racial difference, end quote.
Then they said, we might make things equal in Barbie Land when things become equal in the real world. And so when women are represented equally in the real world, we'll represent men equally in Barbie Land. Far beyond Barbie Land.
We're not going to set the example like we're supposed to be doing.
Setting the example, that's right. No.
This article is not about the individual racism of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, or Phoebe Cousins. Rather, this research concerns itself with how the individual and collective sentiments 19th century suffragettes expressed reflected the specific ideological paradigms and political goals of white feminists at the turn of the century. Louise Newman has been unwavering in her position that, quote, feminism, assimilation, and imperialism were historical siblings, the offspring of a marriage between democratic ideals and social evolutionary beliefs. Equal citizenship was possible only for those who conformed to the racialized and gendered precepts of white civilization. End quote.
They want to oppress men in the way that they perceive women have been oppressed in the past. They just want to flip the tables, and it's about power. That's why it's not about equality, and that's why I actually despise intersectional modern feminism, I guess, because
these biases were reflected in the leadership, member, and overarching goals of the feminism in the late 19th century and throughout the 20th century that are rarely situated as deliberate dedications of feminism as an idea. As the historian Jen McDaniel explains, quote, works rarely explore or explicate white suffragettes' racism. They only confirm it. As with our acquaintance with Stanton herself, this racism is now notorious even as it remains obscure. Scholars persistently produce this racism as the reason for the so-called split within the suffragette movement or over whether to support or oppose the 15th Amendment and the enfranchisement of black men before women, but in doing so they make the racism into an explanation for an event, a way to understand the fissures and failures of the movement, end quote.
It's anti-male, it's anti-equality, it's bigoted, and it's vile, and this film just displays it all throughout. It's crazy. And then the final idea where like, we're going to oppress the kids just like before, it's just like, oh, there we go. You don't want equality.
Ironically, while suffragette writings and speeches often specifically name and target black men as the predominant threats to women's rights and white civilization, few, if any, writings on the racism of the suffragettes movement addresses the misandric vitriol of the women's rights movement towards black males generally. End quote.
And so there was that. And then the actors started to drop some comments about how feminist this film is, and also how it puts a nail in the idea of gender stereotypes and stuff. And then on the opposite end, the director, or someone high up who made it, I think it was the director, was saying, this isn't a feminist film. Well, now I know, having watched it, whoever said this wasn't a feminist film, it was lying through their teeth. This is an insanely, not only, because there are different levels of feminism. No, this is third wave, intersectional, subversive, man-hating, power-hungry, destructive feminism type of that.
Today we're going to look at the overlap between feminism, spirituality, and eugenics in the 1880s to 1940s. Why is there an overlap between feminism, spirituality, and eugenics? To break the question down, first of all, let's look at the overlap between first wave feminism and the occult revival of the late 19th century. Women enjoyed leadership positions in these movements. Indeed, they were often founded by women. Spiritualism was begun by the Fox sisters in 1848. The Theosophical Society was founded by Madame Blavatsky in 1875, and Christian Science was founded by Mary Baker Eddy in 1879. Secondly, one can see a lot of overlap between first wave feminism and the eugenics movement. For example, the Eugenics Education Society was founded in 1907 by a 20-year-old widow, Sybil Gotto. Its administration was run by 6 women, and half of its membership were women. Many leading first-wave feminists, Margaret Sanger, Marie Stopes, Annie Besant, Victoria Woodhull, the famous five of Canadian feminism, were also champions of eugenics.
The falsehood that I find with the extreme feminist movement is that all these kind of difficulties that exist in life are unique to women, and men, this film is just like, men have all the power, they're always on top, everyone listens to them, they ask men for the time, they're always given regard and consideration. Well, no, the reality is, men have their own different types of issues that we have to deal with, that women don't have to deal with. For instance, sympathy for suffering, okay?
But we wondered, what would happen if we reversed the sexes? What if the victim were a man and the abuser a woman?
You want to start with me?
But now we're about to meet a woman whose reaction is instant, visceral. Watch closely.
No, get up. No.
What went through her mind?
Good for her. You go, girl.
Linda Makuthi just assumed he had it coming to him. But why?
Maybe she caught him cheating or something like that, really bad, and that made her lose it.
Linda seems to think our feisty actress is a kind of role model.
I was thinking, oh, I'm pretty nice all the time. I should have done what she did sometimes.
I find it upsetting. I would find it more upsetting if he were putting his hands on her.
If you're wondering why they didn't call 911, well, he's a cop.
If it had been the man,
oh, without a doubt,
you would have stepped in.
It's called old-fashioned views.
It's a double standard.
It is. But what can I tell you? I mean, if you're raised the way I was raised, you don't put your hands on them, right?
Men get far less sympathy when they're suffering, when they're pain, and everything like that. In fact, men are expected to die before women because it is the male role to protect women and children. So if the Titanic is going down, who gets saved, right?
You want to know what is so pathetically played out besides taxes, sex, and pinstriping? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. It is people referencing nature as justification for male devaluation, utility, and essentially disposability. Males are disposable elements of nature. Males are the providers and protectors in nature. I hear so much ado about nature and science, even in the manosphere, that males are made to be disposable, expendable, discardable.
And genuinely, a woman who is in pain and is suffering will get more, concern, consideration, and charity than a man will, even to the point that women receive less, like lower penalties for the same crime than what men do in the judicial system, okay? That's unfair, and there's a whole list of things that men have to deal with that suck, and a separate list of things that women have to deal with that suck. And you know what would be great? If we just try and help each other out instead of trying to say, it's only women that are in problem. How about everyone has to go through crap, and we acknowledge that and try and help each other out and work together, okay? Instead of this male versus female insanity that this type of feminism in this film is pushing insanely so.
Your point about, if men were that alpha, then they wouldn't be that bothered by this, doesn't really help us when it comes to boys growing up. And that is one of my worries, that for teenage boys now, they are so terrified of the consequences of putting a foot out of line. It's hard enough being a young teenager, working out how things are, working out how to do dating and all of that, without the terror that if you touch in the wrong place at the wrong time, you may find that your whole life is destroyed.
See, I like that
far
terror.
Too much. Well,
I like that.
As a mother of a teenage boy, I don't.
And that's the thing. You like that terror because it puts you in a position when you are the handicap and you're the one at the top. And now all these people are handicapped. You're going to abuse of your power. You know how I know? Because it's happening right now.
Such insanity. And this whole film is a really pertinent, illustrative analogy of what modern extremist intersectional feminism is. Because I'm not saying that feminism hasn't had a role to play in women's rights in the past.
This is Emily Murphy. She was a Canadian feminist and even a magistrate in Canada and in the British Empire. And she was also a member of the group, the so-called Famous Five, which were Canadian women's rights activists or feminists, due in part to Murphy's heavy advocacy of compulsory sterilization of thousands of Albertan men and women were sterilized without their knowledge or consent under the Sterilization Act. Here's what Emily Murphy wrote about this. Quote, "The object of sterilization is threefold. It aims at public security by preventing sexual crimes against women and children by feeble-minded but full-lived males, that patients of both sexes may cease to be charges upon the vastly burdened rate payers, and for the mental and physical betterment of our racial life." End quote. The Famous Five were commemorated in the 2001 Journey series of Canada's $50 bill, along with Therese Casgrain, a feminist and politician from Quebec. So instead of actually punishing or denouncing these eugenic feminists, these racists, they actually put them on a $50 bill. Absolutely disgusting.
Talk about right now the type of feminism they're pushing.
So as far as feminists and such, I guess I would consider myself a happy feminist.
What top five you smoking up?
I'm very much in favour of equality on both genders. I'm actually happy with the equality that we share at this time period.
He looked like he about to cry right now. He looked like he about to cry.
You know, I can get any job I work for, get any degree I want to get based on what I do, my merit, not on my gender.
Yeah.
Stanford University under investigation for sex bias against men. According to the complaint filed with the Office of Civil Rights, the elite school offers several programs to support women and no equivalents for men. The Stanford women's programs are just the latest in a long list of university-based women's initiatives under fire for violating regulations that prohibit sex discrimination. And also, women are 3 to 15 times more likely to be selected as members of the American Academy of Arts and Science and National Academy of Science than men, with similar publication and citation records.
And so I'm actually a happy feminist. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and the fact that you chose to be a mother, okay, and a homemaker does not devalue you in any way. And actually, I think it elevates you as in a big way. But this film has a problem with motherhood and other things like that.
Women that claim to want traditional relationships consisting of turning dials on washing machines and dishwashers and doling out sex while you, the man, goes out to bust your ass to support her are deceptive and selfish parasites that are perfectly fine with letting you slowly degrade your own male vitality and health to make things easier for her.
So overall, I hated this film.
And you could tell as he watched it that he hated it.
I looked to you as well, though, and I didn't see many smiles.
There was the occasional laugh, and I enjoyed parts of it. But the grinding of teeth next to me was a very good indication of where this movie was going.
It goes to show that feminism at its core, at the beginning, until now, was always a female supremacist movement and was always full of insane man-hating ideas that was even infused with cult-like spiritual supremacy and female worship.